Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done a video and I'm slowly getting back into the making side of things, and I designed something recently, popped it on Twitter, and I was quite surprised. I got a little bit of traction, so I thought why not do a little video on it just to test my toe in the water, as it were. So in the past I've been using things like this, which was recommended by David Watts, I'm sure, and that is great. But the thing I find is that it's a bit big when I've got that sitting on my desk. I've got one of these really cheap helping hands thing, although he's lost a hand, um, which does work well, although it's hard to manipulate in exactly where you want and they come loose a bit. I have printed a few over the years, 3D printed that is, and they've worked okay, sort of. Someone recommended one on Twitter. I'll put a picture up, and that one didn't print so well for me, but that was back in my early days of 3D printing, so that could be worth a revisit. But again, this was similar to this and a bit big and bulky. I printed some other much smaller ones that used elastic bands and things, but they were cute, but never really were that useful, if I'm honest. So what I've come up with is the Miami. And I think I gotta pay Brian Locke 10 cents every time I say that, but hey, it's worth it. It's a really simple 3D printed design. Prints in two parts. Just unscrews like that. I've designed some knurlings on the top so you can just grip it easy enough. I've designed it so that the inside you do lose a little bit of space because there's some 45-degree angles there because of these overhangs, because the support would have been hard to remove. But I think that's preferable to, trying to mess on with supports or doing it straight down and losing way too much space. The advantage of having it empty inside is that you can put some ballast in or some weight. Now, I was kind of trying to think about what I should do, whether it should be plaster or concrete or something like this. In the end, I've kind of just went for sand, which has worked really well. It was slightly wet sand, but then the moisture has come out of that. Someone mentioned about the sand falling out, but that's not really an issue because it caps itself off with the lid. And generally, you're not going to be doing anything but PCBs, so you're only going to have a small amount of the thread exposed. Worst case, you get a little bit of sand in the threads, but you can wash that off. And you could use something like hot glue to seal over the top. I could design a 3D printed cap, but I just don't think that's really that necessary. But hey, we could do that. The last thing that was really needed, and if I screw this, the last thing that was really needed, if we screw this back together, and you see it's got a pretty smooth action there. It would be interesting to see this printed on a resin printer, because I think that would be pretty cool. On the base, I've just placed some carpet grip material. You can get loads of stuff online from Amazon or eBay that you'd normally put under chairs or something like that, and that just stops it moving too much. And the thing I like, it's just pretty small, compact, just a few revolutions. You can get it there, get your PCB in place, trap that there, and it's pretty good. I've got the soldering iron. You can touch the board and you could be trying to do things and it's not going to move too much. The heavier it is, the better you're going to get as far as performance for moving around. But in all honesty, you're not going to be using a 20 centimeter long board or anything like that. What you could do is you could print two or more, and then you could do it on the other side, so you could do a bigger board. So on the Twitter thread, there was a couple of things mentioned. The first one was ESD. In all honesty, I'm not sure how it's going to perform ESD wise. I'm not too concerned because it's more just for working on small hobby boards. I've not personally had too much of an issue around 3D printed parts working on PCBs like the holders I've used and such like. But your mileage may vary, so just watch out for that. Someone mentioned using anti-cling spray, which was a new one on me, but you could Google that as well. One of the other things that was mentioned was hot air, and that's not really something that I'm too worried about. At the end of the day, it's plastic. It doesn't matter whether you print it from PETG, nylon, PLA. Eventually, the boards that you're going to use hot air with are going to get so hot that it's just going to deform it. And even if you had spacers in there and different things, I don't think it's going to work too well. So I'm not really too concerned about that. I've got a hot plate that I use, or I have got a silicone mat that I use in that respect, the boards aren't really moving around, and so it doesn't need to be clamped down as such because you're not putting any force on it, because it's kind of non-contact with the air and you're just picking parts off. So I'm not overly concerned about that, but if you are worried, then it's plastic, so it will melt, so just kind of be wary with that. One thing that did spring to mind that you could do is, obviously you've got a certain amount of weight in it and it works great for small boards, but if you did want to use big boards, you could print a few of them. It did occur to me that I could design smaller size ones, and then you could do 2 or 3 and it would be a quicker print, but that's maybe something to look at for the future. But for now, it works all right. It is a pretty long print. I think it depends. I did the 0.2 and it took about 10 hours, I think, on Prusa Mark III, which is not too bad. I did get a touch bit lifting on the lid there, so just watch out for that. You could do a brim and then just trim it off if you want, but it just depends how your printer's set up. Overall, I'm really happy. Might be a few iterations that I might bring out, and the link for it is on Thingiverse, which you can see down below. So thanks for watching. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and thanks very much.